What events and turning points are important in history and why? The battle between the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia during the American Civil War was a turning point in naval warship designs. The battle between the ironclads has changed the way naval ships and vessels are designed today. It all started with the French ship La Gloire, which was the world's first ironclad battleship. Ironclads were steam-propelled warships protected by an iron-armored plate. The warships were used in the American Civil War to fight other ships and attack forces on land. During the Civil War, the Union blockaded the South's ports to choke the cotton and tobacco exports. The Confederates reacted by rebuilding steamships into armored gunboats and ironclads with underwater rams. The first of the Confederate ironclads was the CSS Virginia. When the USS Merrimac was burned to the waterline by Union troops as they evacuated the Gosport shipyard in 1861, the Confederates had a plan. They used the hole in the engine of the ship to rebuild the Merrimac into the Virginia. The Virginia was a casemate ironclad design, which meant it had an armored box built to protect guns and crew members from enemy ammunition. The hull of the Merrimac was plated with iron. The ship was equipped with a ram and armed with different calibers of guns. In October of 1861, progression reports of building the Virginia leaked to the Union. The Confederacy tried to spread false rumors about the Virginia. However, the Union was well aware of what the South was hiding. The Union's skeptical thoughts of the Virginia led to the building of the Union ironclad, the USS Monitor. Congress contributed $1.5 million towards the ship prototype. John Erickson received the privilege to design the first Union ironclad. Erickson's design included a hemisphere-shaped rotating gun turret in the middle of a two-part hull and some steam-powered and breech-loading guns. It also included an upper hull with an overhang over the lower hull, a small pilot house above the deck, an armored protected anchor, and some underwater engines. The crew quarters in the ship, as well as the ventilation system, were also underwater. The commander of the Monitor, Lieutenant John Lorimer Worden, did not receive orders to send the Monitor to Washington, D.C., and instead the ship steamed to Hampton Roads, Virginia, leading to the battle between the ironclads. The Virginia and Monitor both had intense journeys on their way to Hampton Roads. The Virginia, having the better ship, had a leak, needed some work, and there was the crack in the supporter for the ram. The Monitor, on the other hand, had a dreadfully rough voyage on its way to Hampton Roads. The seas were extremely harsh, which led to leaks in the ship. Even worse, the ventilation system broke. Smoke and deadly gases filled the engine room and the entire ship. Many crew members grew awfully ill. The Monitor was being towed to Hampton Roads by the USS Seth Low, but the tow rope almost broke out at sea. Finally, on March 8, 1862, in Hampton Roads, the Virginia was engaged in battle with Union steamships. The Virginia rammed and sank the USS Cumberland and forced the USS Congress to surrender and burn to its waterline. The exterior of the Virginia was badly damaged from enemy gunfire, also resulting in 21 crew casualties. The Virginia retreated and decided to finish off the USS Minnesota the next morning. The Monitor arrived to Hampton Roads, towed by the Seth Low. The Virginia returned that day to finish off the USS Minnesota, but found the Monitor instead. On March 9, 1862, the battle between the Monitor and Virginia began. The battle was a 4-hour slugfest, meaning there was no winning or losing side. As the duel indecisively ended, the battle turned out to be a very important draw in history. This battle was a turning point in history because it showed that the ironclad's design were clever and could withstand rival attacks well. The ships were only the start of strengthening the Navy, as many warships built afterwards used the ideas from these ships. The USS Monitor became the prototype for the Monitor-type warships, which were low freeboarded steamships. Monitors became extremely popular during the Civil War, as they could take a great deal of enemy fire. The battle between the ironclads was a huge turning point in history, as it also led to rams becoming decisive weapons that were incorporated into the design of a ship's hull. In naval vessels after the ironclads, armor decks and armor belts were introduced. Gun turrets were the main gun placements, and ironclads soon became gigantic battleships used in following engagements. The USS Monitor and CSS Virginia were only the start of ironclad designs and inspirations for other warships. Therefore, the The Monitor and Virginia were two revolutionary warships that positively impacted people's ideas for ship designs. The ironclads led to a whole new creation of ships that could withstand a large amount of ammunition, changing the way battles were fought between ships for centuries to come. The warships used today would not be as safe, as protected, or as efficient if the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia had never fought each other.